Good evening. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I know I'm like, a week late for saying Happy New Year, but I was not here last week because I thought I would give you guys some anticipation for today's show. So Happy New Year. I hope everyone watching feels blessed this evening, feels amazing. And I hope we all went into 2021 with a specific plan for how we're going to make this year amazing. 2020 ended on an exciting note for us. We had a great final show closing out the year with Mia Mendez. We spoke about what everyone thought 2021 would be and what we look forward to. And I think that 2021, because I like to speak things into existence, is going to be a phenomenal year, especially for Love Shouldn't Hurt. It's a brand new year. So a brand new year to start new ventures, to start exciting things, and to continue to multiply and step up our game for things that we're already doing. So I know that it's January, and last year we had our Love Gala in February. Due to CDC guidelines and COVID, it may not happen in February, but I attest to you, it will happen this year, and it will be yet again an amazing event. Our gala, if you don't know what it is, we like to celebrate all of those victims, present and past, who have gotten out of those relationships that didn't make them feel like they're 100% best. We also want to remind folks in the community that we stand together in solidarity at our gala. It's an amazing evening. People wear purple. We show everyone what we got, some dancing, some awards, some great music, and it's just a phenomenal night. So I look forward to our Love Gala, another 5K this year, continuing to make moves with our connection with Concilio, who make us a great part of our community. So 2021 is amazing already because I already feel like it's been blessed. So tonight, folks, I am having a very, very exciting show. So I wanted to have a blurb before I brought on any guests and before we got into the topic at hand. What I wanted to do was talk about tonight's subject matter. So I know that when people speak about cheating or relationships that don't work out because people cheat, it's very, very taboo. People constantly are like, oh my God, if you stayed, you're an idiot, or you used to be a cheater and you did this and you did that. We are not going to spend our evening tonight pointing fingers at anyone. What we are going to do tonight is talk about different reasons why people cheat, why people are in relationships with people who cheat on them, why people continue to live those types of lives, why people have decided they want to be the person who they cheat. We're just giving opinions. We're talking about it because when it comes to domestic violence, 90% of the time, a lot of the women and men that are in these relationships are tolerating being cheated on. Why? Because as I've heard from a lot of different people hurt people. And we stay in these relationships sometimes because and when I say we, remember that every time I speak from experience. I'm able to get here every day without pride and without boasting any horns, but saying that I have lived through all of these situations, past and present. I've been cheated on numerous times and I've stayed. And people have said, wow, she's an idiot. Well, I'm sure that tonight we're going to have a lot of those conversations. And I'm okay with having those conversations because I think it's a part of our growth. I think it's a part of our learning process. And I think that tonight we're going to get a lot of different opinions. What I do ask of all of our audience tonight is number one rule, please keep an open mind. 2, please remain respectful. We are not going to attack anyone. We're not going to name call anyone. We're not going to call anyone out because it's not about justifying it this way or that way. What we are going to do is just have a conversation. Most of our topics are seriously, just very, very taboo. And people wonder why. If the audience asks me to talk about something, I do what you guys asked. This conversation was brought up so many times, so we're going to talk about it. Why not? A lot of people who deal with domestic abuse also deal with cheating. So tonight, we're not going to have a biased opinion. We're going to speak to a female and a male. We're going to speak in the therapeutic sense, and we're just going to talk and have an open adult conversation without being angry, without pointing fingers, and without saying this person is right or wrong. We're just going to talk about it because that's what we do here at Love Shouldn't Hurt. So today, we have 2 amazing, phenomenal guests. Right now, our male guest is not in screen. He's actually running a little late, and that's okay because this is live y esas cosas pasan. But we do have a phenomenal mujercita who has been on the show twice. This is her 3rd time with us. And why do I continue to ask her to come back? Because she has just a phenomenal personality. She also has a range of experiences in the therapeutic view, And she's humana, you know, she's a Latina who wants to talk and has something to say. And I love having her on screen. So while we wait for our male guest to come on and give us that other perspective, I'm going to bring on tonight a phenomenal Latina who I always say she's being fierra. I'm bringing on Amanda Peguero, who's going to join us tonight and give us her opinion on cheating and why people stay or why they don't stay. Amanda,
Hola.
how are you, amorcita?
I'm doing wonderful. Happy to be back.
Woohoo! Happy New Year.
Same to you. I know we're like you said, like 2 weeks behind, but no
We
importa. It's still January.
are. That's right. Todavía es January. And I'm going to say Happy New Year, even if we're in March. If I haven't seen you in forever, I'm be like, Happy New Year, boo.
I'll accept it. I'll accept it. All the
That's
blessings.
right. It's all love. So listen, this topic is like a topic that a lot of people hear and they're like, they roll their
Mhm.
eyes, they
Mhm.
feel some type of way. And I get it because we've all been there, you know, like we've all been either on the receiving end or we've even done it, you know. Let's not
Mhm.
lie about it. We've been there, we've done it, you know. So, with an unbiased mind and opinion tonight, we're going to talk about it because, you know, it's
Yeah.
crazy what happened. So, look at that. You already getting shout outs. Yay, she's back. They're loving you, girl.
I love you guys back. I love this. I love your audience. They're so phenomenal.
Yeah, that's the one thing I can say about our audience. They're super, super like loving. They like make you feel good. They don't make you feel bad. If you having a bad day and you get on here, they're gonna make you feel good.
Good. I'm about it.
That's right. So as you see on the screen, it says hurt people. And that's a huge part of tonight's discussion because I think that a lot of people who either are people who, you know, participate in the cheating, you know, have dealt with some sort of pain in their past as well. You
Mhm.
know, they've like, you know, I spoke to someone not too long ago who told me after they saw the subject matter of tonight's show, Christina, did you know that I always used to be the other woman? And I was like, really? Like, I couldn't believe it. And her response to that was, I was the other woman for a very long time because I was cheated on so much when I was being monogamous and I was being faithful in my relationships. I got tired of it. I was sick of constantly giving my all and then finding out over and over again they were cheating on me. So I decided, que se jode. Hold
Mhm.
on, I'm no longer
Mhm.
gonna be faithful. I'm gonna be that other person and I don't care. So it's surprising, but that's what a lot of people think, right? Like that's
Mhm.
what a lot of people say. Quite often, domestic violence stems from cheating. Just saying. Teresa Fetzer says, "I agree with that. I don't know. What is your opinion on the subject matter? Let's remind folks. You know what? Before we do that, espérate, espérate, because our numbers are growing. People are watching. Let's remind people who Amanda Peguero is.
Well, let me fix my camera here a little bit. Like, get a little closer. I'm totally kidding, guys. Sorry. So, I am a licensed professional counselor, both in the state of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I have extensive experience in trauma. I've worked in nonprofit my entire life. I'm most recently now I'm in the school district of Philadelphia, but I feel like the work that I've been doing with all of our communities, both lower income, but I've also worked with upper um, income families. And when it comes to trauma, when it comes to mental health, it all kind of squashes itself out the same. It doesn't matter how you grew up or how much money you have.
Yeah,
Anyways, in regards to my experience on the topic, I don't know that I want to say I'm an expert on the topic. I
that's
think
right.
that today I'm more of just providing a background in regards to the mental health component of a person who consistently has been on either side of the spectrum, because
Yeah,
let's be real, right? Like
yeah,
there's two ends to this, and
yeah,
there's also the gray in the middle,
yeah.
or else we probably wouldn't be having this conversation.
Exactly.
um, However, I think you said it earlier, we all have experience, whether it's direct, indirect. This is the one that I like most, whether it's knowledgeable or like you didn't know,
Yeah,
because there's always times where like you know and you don't know, and I think that there's too many components to the topic for us to start tonight off in any capacity with shaming or judging,
right.
or and that's why I said that. When you said that earlier, I thought great, perfect, because
Yes.
we're outsiders talking about others situation.
Right, right.
Only you can speak about your own
Your
personal
own.
story, and I can have an opinion, but we
Mhm.
all can have an opinion. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong.
Absolutely. I think that when I say go in with an open mind, and I say that to everyone that's watching, it's exactly what you said. It's like you hit the nail on the head. We've all dealt with it in different forms.
Mm-hmm.
And how we've tolerated it or dealt with it is, it depends on you, the person,
Mm-hmm.
and I can say this openly because I have always, this platform has allowed me to be totally transparent with everyone who watches, with everyone who's a part of every venture that I take, that I can say that about 80% of all the relationships I've been on, I've been cheated on. And I can openly also say that I probably never left 80% of them. I stayed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so, it's a matter of opinion. It's a matter of what you're able to tolerate or not tolerate. I think the difference is my mindset and my mind frame at those different times.
Mm-hmm.
During my abuse, when I was with my abuser and he was, with someone else and I was very openly aware of it, my self esteem was so low that I was just like, at least I have someone. At least he cheats with her, but he comes home to me, type of
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've grown since then because back then I hated the other woman so bad. Like I hated her. Like, oh, like he's cheating with
Mm-hmm.
you. You're a witch. You're this, you're that. I think the
Mm-hmm.
difference now is that you can look at the other woman, and though you may, let's be honest, feel some type of way about her, in the back of your mind, he's the one that's wrong. He knows going in there intentionally, or he or she, whatever the relationship, this bond is between the two of you. The respect is between the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
And if he or she, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not just woman or man, but he or she decides, I'm with this person, but I'm going to go and I'm going to stray away, it's their responsibility. Even though you can't stand that woman, you probably don't even want to see her when you see her in the street. You also have to remember that just as you're being lied to, they're being lied to too. They'll
Mm-hmm.
tell you, I'm not with her, she's just a friend. Or what I've heard most recently, I'll just tell her we're not together. I'll say we broke up and you're a stalker. And she's believing that because he's putting his charm on when he's with her,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, I'm not with her, she's crazy. You see, I blocked her on social media, right? Like, you see, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
with her, type of thing. So I think we're all guilty of just like accepting and tolerating, but we're at different levels of understanding of the person. I have to say that for myself, that I've stayed in relationships that I've cheated, and though I've hated the other woman, I also have to realize that he's more guilty than she is because he knows exactly who he's with and he knows what he's doing. And even though she may know about me, he's lying to her and he's saying that he's not with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Mhm. I think that it also goes back, just to take a little back, but I think it also goes to our upbringing and our ancestral belief, right? So, we most of people our age come from two-parent household, or from some sort of dynamic like what you just described, where like, yeah, my parents were together, but my dad wasn't always at home,
Mm.
but he was present, but he also had kids everywhere else, right? So I'll use my story for example. I'm one of nine children, but my mother only has two children,
Okay.
which means my father had eight children. I mean, I can't add clearly, but my father had seven children outside of wedlock, and my mom is the only person he ever married, right? My father, I only remember him living with me for 3 years, um, of my knowledgeable life, which means that I can remember. So maybe six or seven was like the only, between 5 and 7, what I is the ages I remember him living with us. Outside of that, he visited frequently. I knew he was my dad. I knew that he was with my mom, but I didn't understand as a young child what that was,
Hmm.
right? But as I continue to grow up and become a teenager, I realized like, well, this isn't what other parents do, and this isn't what happens in other families. But my dad was always around. So, however, I didn't understand relationships, so I didn't understand what was going on between the two of them. At 10 years old, my mom gets pregnant, and all of a sudden, I have two brothers, but my mom only had one. So
Hmm.
this is now where the world starts to open up, right? Like, how does that happen? Think of yourself at 10, like what you're thinking about. How does that happen? 5 years later, there's two more kids. My mom has had none,
Yeah.
right? So, but every single time I was introduced to a new child, it was, this is your sibling. And my mom was part of the introduction. So I was so confused. Like what's happening now as an adult? I can have a conversation with my mother and understand it all. Well, not recently, but like when I got a little older and understanding things and having conversations about relationships and my own partners, and her sharing some of her experiences, and me thinking like, but why did you just cut him off? Like in my head, it was so easy. Like, why
Right.
didn't you just cut him off? But
Yeah.
there's so many layers
Yes.
to it, right? There was the layer of the loyalty, right? She came
Yeah.
from a upbringing of like, when you get married, you stay married. Her religion, like you're Catholic, you have to stay married. There's just like so many components that now I know that I'm like, oh, so it wasn't that you were okay with what he was doing. It was just that when you weighed out the pros and the cons, the pros benefit whatever would have came with not, if you had left or had
Right.
not dealt with him anymore. But I'll tell you that that's my personal experience in regards to my home. But I don't know that everyone's experience is the same.
Yeah. I think and speaking openly, and sometimes my dad watches, so Pop, I love you. um I think that I my relationship with my dad when I was younger was very different. Um he was always around. But there was times when he just wasn't in the household because of the same type of situations.
Hmm.
And I watched my mom, and I was young, so I didn't understand, and I was just like, what is happening?
Hmm.
And I think that I just was like, for me, it was just right and wrong. Like, you're not supposed to do it. So I felt some type of
Yeah.
way. And now though, like, I love my dad. Me and my dad are like this. We tight as toast. If anybody knows me, they know we tight as toast. Um, and now my mindset is just so different. Like, that was the past. It is what it is. It happened. But I think too, like, just like accepting and tolerating abuse, like just tolerating domestic abuse. We say, it'll stem from childhood and people what they watch. We've watched our
Hmm.
parents get beat, and we grow up and it's like, well, that's what I learned. Cheating and all
Hmm.
of that too was a part of what people see in their past. And then
Correct. Correct.
we grow up and we're like, well, I mean, that's my mom dealt with it. And like my dad, I joke all the time and I say, my dad was, I always tell my dad, oh my God, Poppy, like you were a pimp back then. And like, I joke with him and he laughs with me, but it's like seeing the multiple sides of it. Like I have conversations now with my dad, and it's funny because when I date, and if I ever introduce, I'll say to my dad, no, he's a really good guy. And my dad will go, I used to be a good guy too. Like, like, he says it all the time. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
all right, Pop, I know you was a pimp. I get that. But like Gabriella said, generational curses, like even with toleration of being abused, we also see the toleration of
Hmm.
cheating and what our
Hmm.
parents accepted and what they thought was okay. And as a woman, I grew up, and man after man has cheated on me, and
Hmm.
viciously I've accepted it. And like I've seen pictures and I've seen messages, and it's like as an adult, it was more like, it's cool. It was a game of I'll get him back, tit for tat. He'll do this, I'll play the game better type of thing. And I think
Hmm.
it's crazy like how our mindsets change throughout the years with the different things. Like I said I was gonna have this topic tonight, and like people were super offended. Like you don't understand. I had inbox messages and text messages like, why are you talking about that? And I'm like,
Hmm.
because why not talk about it? I've been there on both sides of the spectrum. I get it. Like, it's a
Yeah.
part of what women and men deal with. And I'm,
Correct.
I'm excited for Alvin to come. He's running late, but I'm
Hmm.
excited for him to hear what a man thinks, because I don't want to be biased. I don't want anyone to think negatively either way, because that's not what we're doing tonight. I want to go back to a question that was there, because in your therapeutic view, I want to see if there's something that you can understand. And I was about to click it, but my executive producer's back there. He got this. So that's the question that was posed by Gabriella. How does one who's been cheated on constantly in the past move on and not allow those emotions, anxieties to interfere and come up in the next relationship? And I think it's
Well,
similar to what people have asked you about abuse.
yeah, but here's the thing, to not allow it, trust me, if we had control of what came up, a lot of us would block a lot of those undesired thoughts and uncomfortable thoughts. So not allowing it is going to be hard. I think the component that we would love to focus on is not letting it have the same reaction
Yeah.
that it caused for us. You know what I mean? So, like, for example, I think I talked about this the last time. When someone cheats on you, the first time you got cheated on, that probably devastated you, right? And it was probably very heartbreaking and disappointing and just let down. I mean, I could probably write a list of words and you guys probably can add to them. And then it happened again. Even though you might have not been really into this person, the second person, the emotion is still connected to the first event. So
Yes.
it's like piling up. I think we had talked about the mashed potatoes. Have we talked about mashed potatoes? Anyways, if not, I'll say really quickly. Trauma events are like it's like being served mashed potatoes, right? You go somewhere and they ask you, "Oh, would you like some?" Let's say the lunch lady, and she serves one scoop of mashed potato. That's your first trauma. And then you're trying to work through that and something else happens and boom, it's another scoop of mashed potatoes and then another one, then another one. Before you know it, if you haven't dealt with some of that, you have a pile of mashed potatoes. And I don't know anyone who loves eating pounds and pounds of mashed potatoes, which is how trauma tends to feel. Like someone is shoving something into your body that is not welcomed and you don't want it. So to answer Gabriella's question, I think that it's important to find the things in this new partnership
Mm-hmm.
that are good for you and to focus. And I think if you watch the show, the last show that I was in with Christina, we talked about not entering relationships and spilling out all the things that didn't work in your last one, but to spill out what your standards are. What are the things you expect? What is it that you want? What are the positive? And bring that positivity in and keep that forefront, always thinking about the future goals and positivity that you want for the relationship versus like, well, in the past, or I've cheated. Have you cheated? How many partners have you had? And what is your thought about cheating? And did it like that already sets a standard of like,
Yeah.
oh, this girl has baggage or this guy is not someone you can trust. And I think that no relationship should start that way. Like that's just not beneficial for anyone.
Yeah, definitely. So our male woo has entered the building. He's having a couple of technical difficulties, so we're waiting for him to come back on the screen. But before he wants to come back in, I want to remind folks, because I didn't do this at the top of the show, which is what I normally do. I want to remind folks who are watching the number for the domestic violence hotline is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. As I state at the top of every show, if you feel as though you've dealt with some sort of domestic violence, you feel someone that you love or you're close to is dealing with domestic violence, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can also contact myself and my team at loveshouldnothurt.com or any of the social media that are on here. So we have a few comments that I continue to see going up. Teresa Fetzer says they're insecurities and not everyone can own their wrongs. Doesn't define
Mm-hmm.
you, you can evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think that just because you have dealt that hand of cards, as they say,
Mm-hmm.
right? It doesn't mean that that's who you are. You're going to be bitter for life, because some people do, but some people move on from it. They move on from it, and they surpass it, and it kind of teaches them. I think just like abuse has taught me, in all the years that I dealt with it, I speak so much about my one abuser who was so physically traumatic. But as you know, my best friend said when she was on, there were plenty of people who have abused me throughout my entire life. I've
Mm-hmm.
dealt with sexual abuse as a child. I
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately I was raped as a child, and it was done for multiple years. And I grew up, and I thought I got past that, but I didn't. And I think it speaks a lot for what it is that I tolerate and who I am and the perceptions I've had about life since then. And not being abused physically does not mean that I haven't been abused in other forms. I've had other men who have never put their hands on me, but have demeaned me so much, who have said that I'm ugly or I'm fat and that I'll never be worth it and that I'll always be the other woman. So these are the things that we deal with, but they're not what they make us. It doesn't make us. We don't just define ourselves from that abuse or even from the cheating. I'm not sure what happened to
Mm-hmm.
Alvin. I know he's trying to come in. Teresa said, "Yep, leave the old shit behind. You don't live there no more." Exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
think we've
No.
we've we've come a long way from that. Carmen, I love that you do this every Tuesday. Thank you, Carmen, and I love that you guys are always so super super supportive, being here all the time. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. Absolutely. I think that the years of
Mm-hmm.
abuse and all the years of being cheated as well has made me a stronger person. Evie Ramos, hello, Comay. Hello, ladies here supporting and loving your messages. I love her. That's my Comay people. I love her. My bestie. I think that, it just says a lot about who we are and what we've tolerated and what we've accepted. But there's reasons behind that and why people accept it on either end of the spectrum. I want to have a conversation
Mm-hmm.
surrounding um, So I'll give you an example until Alvin comes back. I'm not sure what happened. But I want to give you an example of my own situation that I've dealt with. So I've said that I've dealt with a situation where I've been cheated on. Um, and then I found out about that other person. I've had conversations with her. She knows about me. I know about her. But she continued to see him, knowing that I
Mhm.
knew and knowing that she knew about
Mhm.
me. Um, and I had hatred for her. Like, I couldn't even see this girl in public because I just like seeing her kind of made me feel like, what does she have that I don't have? Type of
Yeah.
situation. And it's crazy because I'm at a place now where I don't hate her. You know, she's a phenomenal woman too. She has a lot going on for her as well. And I feel like we both were taken advantage of. We both were lied to. But why do we like take that so strong, like so deeply? Why are we so angry about this other person when we know, like, dude, he's the one lying to her too? Like, why do we take that and we're just like, I hate her, like it's her fault type of thing? Like, I always want to get another woman's perspective. Like, how do you feel about the woman that you knew he cheated with? Like,
Mhm.
what did you go through? Because for me, I hate her. Like, I want to get rid of
Mhm.
her. Like, and then then you get to a place where you're like, it's not her fault. Like, just like he lied to me, he lied to her. We're both
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
phenomenal women. He's
And
just
the
an
question
asshole.
and the question is, if it wasn't her, wouldn't it be
Be
someone
somebody
else?
else. It would be someone else.
So then you would end up, hating all women.
Everybody. Yeah,
Anyone who looks like
everybody.
that one, and anyone who has the same type of hairstyle or whatever. And the reality,
Yeah.
and I think you and I had kind of talked about it earlier, was that your commitment is with your partner.
Yes.
So I don't want it to keep saying like it's a male cheating on a female, because it does happen the other way,
Yeah.
right? I just think that women are a little bit smarter. No offense to the men. I expected Ray to like pop in right there. I think they know how to hide it a little better. um, and guys sometimes just, I don't know if it's that they don't care, so I don't want to speak for them, but there is like tienen más cojones. I don't know how else
Yeah.
to say it. You know what I mean? To like do the things, like going to the same areas that like you might be in,
Yeah.
or knowing smart enough to not go to the areas that you might be in, and things like that. In regards to why we put up with it and why women continue, or men who are in relationship, I don't think none of us can answer that question, because that person only knows what is keeping them in that relationship.
Right.
Personally, I think the first thing is love. You are in love with this person, because if you were not in love with this person, you would not be putting up with anything. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be putting up with the dirty clothes on the bathroom floor that they don't pick up, the dishes they don't do, the minutia of life, right? The little
Yeah.
things in life that bug us,
Hmm.
but that we're like, but I love him or I love her, so I'm just gonna let it go. Or the fact that they smoke and you don't like smoking, like whatever it is, right? We all have deal breakers, and then we all have things that we're like, oh, I can compromise. But when it comes to these situations, I myself, and I have girlfriends who have said, I will never tolerate that.
Yeah.
And I don't think I can find one girlfriend in my group that has not dealt with it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But that's my point, because we have very strong beliefs about what we will or won't accept until we're in that situation. And
Absolutely.
then when we're in that situation, it's our circumstances in the moment, our age, our maturity that's going to decide how we deal with things, right?
Yeah.
So maybe in our 20s, I would have been like you, on the ta. Let me find her in the street. Hold my earrings. Hold on. You know what I mean? Like
In my
that would have
boots.
been maybe right. Maybe in the 30s, it was like, nah, me and him going at it. You know what I mean? And potentially that becoming a verbal disagreement, and might have escalated to a physical or whatever. And maybe in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, you just don't have the energy for that,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, I gotta move on.
Right. Hey, there's our mail.
Yay!
Hi, Alvin. How are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. So we have been talking about cheating, right? We're talking about why we feel we people have or they have not done it. So we don't want to be biased with just mujeres. So I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for
Thank you for
joining
having.
us. So listen, tírate, throw yourself right in. What is your opinion? And remember, we're not bashing, we're not saying negative, but you're a male and I want to hear a male's perspective. Why do you think people do it?
First off, let me say thank you again for having me. I really
No
appreciate it.
problem.
The signal's it's coming in and out because I'm in Orlando right now.
It's okay. Don't listen,
So
don't make us feel bad because we're in the cold, okay?
So just yeah, just jumping into it. I don't really know why people do it, but I know it's. I mean, of course, it's a sexual thing. Men are more prone to be, in sexual in nature, where women would be more emotional and mental.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But there's various reasons. I mean, you could be in a marriage, a loveless marriage,
Hmm.
and feel that you have to do that. I mean, I'm not saying that that's well, really, cheating is cheating, so there is no excuse for doing that. If you feel that you're not connected to somebody in any way, then you should just leave that person. But a lot of people will stay with somebody because of children or financial matters, or just feel an obligation of like feeling comfortable with that person, that they've invested so much time and energy to be with that person that they're afraid to start over. Some people are afraid to be alone, period.
Yeah.
It's a
Hmm.
very
Hmm.
hard thing to be alone. And I'm telling you from personal experience that this is the longest that I've ever been single. And at the beginning, it was very difficult for me because I've been married, I've been in relationships, and just now I've really found out who I am. And a lot of what I was basing my happiness on was the person that I was with. I idolized that person. I would put them on a pedestal. I would do everything for them. So I've noticed by being by myself that I have to put my faith and think of myself and my family before I even think about somebody else. Because not that it always happens, but in my case, I've haven't had someone to actually stay with me and for a long extended period of time. And I believe in forever. I'm an old school romantic. Just because things get a little bit difficult doesn't mean that that's something that you should, just throw away a relationship or the connection with people. And nowadays with social media, I mean, you're aware people are just a swipe away, or somebody's in your DMs or trying to get with you, that they see pictures, and we put up this facade of who we are on social media. But
Yeah.
you have to take that with a grain of salt, because that's not the way that it always is.
Absolutely. So that
Temptation is at the drop of a dime.
it is. It
Right.
is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you just don't know. People don't want to put the work in. Everyone wants a relationship,
Hmm.
but when you're in it, then you're not willing to do the work for it. You can't get comfortable with people as well. You have to be. I've always said that dating is like, you put up this facade of who you are just to find out months later who that person really is. And by then, like I said, you're investing so much time and emotions get attached. And it's like, a lot of the times we see what we want to see in people,
Hmm.
but because that's who we are.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You're a good person. So you mentioned, like, you want to change this person. You feel like you can help them, or, you can do this or you can do that. But you have to realize that when you get those red flags at the beginning, that's telling you something. Don't be so blinded, because, a lonely heart will see things the way that you want to.
Yeah.
You can't be
Hmm.
blinded by, being lonely or seeing potential in somebody.
Absolutely. So we have a few comments. We actually, not a few, we have a whole lot, which is what I love. Our audience is amazing. You guys rock. You're always out there putting yourselves out there, and I love it. Ray Velez says people tend to not focus on the real issue at hand and first go with their emotions versus asking
Mm,
why to their partner, which
Hmm.
is serious, because I honestly think that it's not. I don't think a lot of times, and maybe this is something that I'll say, and people will be like, "Did she really say that?" Because it's a reality. We're all adults. Okay, let's be real. I feel like there are plenty of people who love and I'm probably going to get shade now thrown at me, but I think there's a lot of people who are in marriages and they love their wives and they love their family and things like that. But the lack of communication has taken them out. And I'm not married. I'm not saying speaking for me, but I mean in general sense. I think there's a lot of men out there and a lot of women who love the partner that they're with, but they're so afraid to communicate to that person that they're unhappy, that we're having issues. So this person in their DM who's flirting, or this person who at work or whoever is like showing them what they're missing from that partner. Maybe that partner just works a lot, so he comes home, he's tired, or she doesn't want to have sex, or she doesn't want to give you that. Instead of telling them, babe, this is affecting me, like this is how I feel, they cheat and they do what they do. So I think someone said you can't love the person you're with if you cheat. I'm going to get flack. People are going to be so mad at me for saying that. I don't think so. I think you can love someone and cheat on them. I think that sometimes communication is just not there and you don't speak to that person and openly say to them, listen, this is what I'm missing in this relationship. Let's talk about it. And then somebody shows you a little bit of cariño, a little bit of you're cute, and your partner's not telling you that often because they're working 20 hours a day, and you give into it. There's plenty of people who have cheated and they are so angry at themselves after. They never do it again. It's a one-time thing because they're brokenhearted because they didn't want to be with that person. They were just giving them for that moment what they lacked at home. People are probably going to yell at me. I'm sorry. But
No, I agree with you, Christina. I think that the issue here is that how we define cheating, right? Because for males, it's usually, like Alvin said, it's a sexual interaction, right? But females who cheat is usually, it sometimes could be worse because it's more of an intimate interaction, right? They're
yeah.
having emotional and mental connections with an individual outside of their committed relationship. And that could sometimes hurt the relationship way deeper than we had a physical interaction. It could have happened multiple times, but I'm not into that person. I just really wanted the sex that I wasn't getting at home. And we always have this conversation, right? Like, what's worse in cheating? Is it that you had sexual intercourse with someone or that you were in a relationship emotionally, mentally, like engaging with this person? So like I have a partner at home who's not giving me emotionally and mentally what I need. Like you said, working tons of hours, we're still having sex, the relationship as well, but I need that attention. And then all of a sudden I'm on social media and our old high school friend or our old someone is like, hey girl, you still look the same. Remember back in the day? Now we're reminiscing, going down memory lane. And all of a sudden it's like, I would love to see you. Let's get together for drinks.
Yeah.
And quién sabe what happens from there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alvin,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Alvin, what do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I agree as well. I agree with everything that you guys are saying. I just wanted to add on, cheating doesn't necessarily have to be like a physical thing as well.
Right.
When you're with your partner, anything that you can't tell your partner is basically a form of cheating.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times guys get a lot of flack from other men saying, oh, you're whooped, or, you're, a simp, or this, that, or the other thing. But in reality, it's a mutual respect that you have with your woman. You should be able to tell your woman, I'm at this place with this person, and, this is what we're going to do. And, you know what I mean? Like, there should be no secrets, no hiding anything from your partner at all. So, but yeah, like I said, social media is very, it plays a big part. It's very beneficial to see family members and reconnect with, people from your past, from school or college or whatever it may be, prior jobs. But you have to be very careful in how you use it, and because it can distort how you think and your feelings as well. You're lacking that intimacy, and then all of a sudden someone's showing you that attention. It takes a lot to really realize, to control yourself, to control your emotions, because you lack those emotions of touch, of feel, or just feeling appreciated, or anything like that. So it's very difficult. It is.
So we have a lot of comments that we haven't seen yet, but I want to touch it because, as always, I like to make sure that my audience knows that I feel you, I love you, and I hear you. So I'm going to go through a few of them. Chino Lebron says, being hurt too many times caused me to become rigid. I hate it. As to why we might accept it, in my own experience, was because of the lack of self-esteem. I can touche that with like 130%. Because my lack of self-esteem, listen, I'm going to be real with everybody who's watching me. You see this girl right here? I know y'all think I'm cute, right? I'm cute.
Get it, girl. You are cute.
Yes. No, I'm joking. I might come on here and I might put on this persona, and I might be out in the world and have this persona. But my self-esteem, my entire years, I'm 40 years old, has been trash. No matter what anybody sees on the other side of the computer that says, damn, she puts up so many selfies. I do. It's sad, but it's a reality that my self-esteem has never been 110%. So when somebody has given me some sort of attention and I don't feel like I'm good enough, I take that attention. Because in my own, when I look in the mirror, I don't see what you see. You see that I'm beautiful. You see that I'm confident, that I'm this and that. But in my mind, and honestly, I attested to, and I don't know if people think this is her cop-out. It's not really a cop-out for me. It's honestly what I've dealt with. I've dealt with so many people and so many relationships that for years who would tell me, you're ugly and nobody's ever going to be with you. And if they're with you, they feel sorry for you. Or they're with you, but you always going to be the second woman. You're never going to be the only person that they love. Those things resonate in my mind over and over again. I'm 40 years old, and every time I'm in a relationship, I'm super apprehensive. When someone tries to give me a compliment, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to take it. I'll sit there and be uncomfortable, like, oh, okay, thank you. Because I already have in my mind what I've dealt with and what I've, what I believe in. Oh, like Ray said, CMV, you're beautiful. Ray's just my biggest fan. But, it's a matter of self-esteem, exactly what he did. I have tolerated and dealt being cheated on over and over and over again. And I say that openly because my show and my entire platform, I've been transparent because of that. No
But
self-esteem.
I'm gonna challenge you a little bit, Christina, because I think that that's the past. I
Mm-hmm.
do not think that the person and the facade the person you are today,
Mm-hmm.
has that same self-esteem or has that is part of who you are. And
Yeah.
because of the fact that you've built your self-esteem, you can sit on this platform and say this
Mm-hmm.
because you're living your truth right now. You're saying, I'm gonna be raw. And you either take me as I am or you're not. If your self esteem wasn't solid enough, you wouldn't be able to take it because I bet you that all the comments and the things that come out aren't positive. They
Right.
aren't always like, yay,
Definitely.
Christina, you're the best. There's people who aren't happy for you. So I think that shows us, and that goes along with the topic, right? That as you build in other relationships, just because you got hurt again, it was probably a different way of hurt, but there were positives in the relationship. And I know I'm always like positive Patty, and I get it. But the reality is that the only way I'm going to grow is by taking my pains and suffering and using them as lessons. Because if I use them as crutches, I'm never going to get anywhere.
Right.
So, what did I learn from this situation? What is it that I tolerated that I no longer, not who that person was, I cannot change that person. This is
Right.
the only person I have control over. So, what was it? Who was I in that relationship? Who do I not want to be next time? And who do I want to be? And how do I get there? And sometimes that's hard to answer because if you were just doing, I think Alvin mentioned that, like you lived for that person, you breathed for that person, and you did everything for that person,
Yeah.
you lose yourself
Yeah.
so that it's like reconnecting and finding like who's Amanda? ¿Qué le gusta a ella? Like what is her favorite thing? Like she started eating this ice cream, but she really doesn't like that ice cream. Like what is her favorite kind of ice cream? Like little things that we compromise. We even do it for children. We compromise for our children, right? Because it's just easier to do that. So I think part of moving past an episode of cheating, let's call it that, is to figure out what is it about yourself that you don't want to allow to continue in the future. You can't change. If you got cheated on, it's done deal, it's in the past. But
Yeah.
in the future, like what is it that I can tolerate and what is it that I won't? And also, I do believe that even through a cheating episode, a relationship could survive.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I do believe in that. I think though it takes a lot of work. And Alvin said it earlier, like people don't want to work.
Yeah.
It's like relationships are a work till the day we leave this earth. Like it's not like easy peasy. There, as we grow, your relationship changes. As partners, careers change, your relationship changes. As you have kids, your relationship changes. So you're constantly at work. So if you could work through an episode of cheating, then you could probably get through a lot. However, how much of that can you tolerate? Which is another topic, I think.
Yeah.
I
So,
believe like when you go through personal growth, you learn a lot about yourself. I've actually found out more in the past year about gaslighting and
yeah.
narcissism and love bombing, which to be honest with you, I've never heard those terms before.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that you can be with someone who's a narcissist and they don't know it. There's a lot of
Hmm.
people out here that are fighting demons and just
Yeah.
things that they don't understand about themselves. And they
Yes.
reflect those things into their relationships. They hurt people.
Yeah.
And you can be a very confident person, realize, okay, I was hurt. I'm going to move on. I'm never going to let that happen again. But like what Christina was saying about her self-esteem or her self-confidence issue, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of people go through that as well. You can portray yourself as being like this attractive person and you
Yeah.
take pictures and you're dressed nice and you're always around like cool people and you're doing things, but deep down inside I think those scars that people have done things to you
Mm-hmm.
never really subside.
Yeah.
You carry those things with you, and even though you've grown and you're a stronger person, those things really really affect you. There's a term, I don't know if it was through the military, but it's post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily something where it's a very violent thing that happens. It can be a very traumatic issue or anything that you feel that you suffer through. I feel like a lot of people are going through post-traumatic stress disorder and don't even realize it. It takes a lot to look at yourself and understand your problems and correct those issues. And it's a constant um, thing that you're always going through, realizing, through yourself. And I chose to be single because the last person that I was with told me I was afraid to be alone, which is not the issue. You know what I mean? But it's almost like to prove to myself that I
Yeah.
could be alone. I'm doing it. And through my faith, through my family and my friends, I've discovered, a person that I've always wanted to be. So in some strange way, I think that heartbreak that I went through was the best thing that ever happened to me because
Yeah.
I finally found the best version of myself. And through every relationship that
Hmm.
you go through, you always find that best version of yourself. But if you constantly dwell on the pain and the suffering that you're going through, that's where you're going to be at. That's where you're going to live.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
God has so many great things in store for us, but we don't see it.
Yeah.
You know,
Definitely. So
Hmm.
we have let me go through some more comments just because I want to get through them. Alicia Santiago says, yes, we are way smarter. My ex-husband thought he was being so slick. I watched his actions for 2 weeks until I was able to confirm his infidelity. I think that's something that a lot of people go through. I think we kind of
Hmm.
suspect it and we just kind of watch to kind of see,
Hmm.
and
or
then we come
choose to
out.
turn the blind eye, right? Not believe it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Jamar Brown, that's my boss, y'all. He's one of my favorite people too. I love my boss. I think it's love, but most people are so content in a relationship that they don't want to leave and start over. It's
Hmm.
Mm,
true. Como dice
very true.
la canción de la India, el costumbre es más fuerte que el amor. So
Hmm.
you may love someone, but you may not be happy anymore, and you may just be so comfortable and you don't want to start over. I got to do this over again, and that you just stay in it because you're like, if I have to start over and go through this again, what's the point? I'd rather just deal with
Hmm.
it. I'd rather tolerate it. I want to make sure I get everybody. Jaseni Ortiz says, I was not raised in a negative household, but I did end up dealing with domestic violence. And I was so shocked at the fact that I did go through it because I'm such a lively, happy, big hearted woman. Jasenia, that's my story. The first day that I was hit for the very first time, I sat on the floor with a cut across my head and blood running down my face. And I was like, did that just happen? Like, I couldn't even believe that it happened. I just was like, I'm such a happy person. I'm so goofy. Like, he just really hit me like that. So I get you. Jesse Martinez, love is forever. If you say you love someone and don't anymore, then you were never in love. True love is forever and unconditional. I agree and I disagree, Jesse, and I love you. I think that you can deeply fall in love, and you two can correct me. I mean, we all have different opinions, but my own opinion is I think that you can fall in love with someone and you can love someone with all of your heart, but I think sometimes people grow apart. And I think that you don't stop loving that person. You may still love them, but the difference of being in love and love is very, very different. I love a lot of people that are no longer around me or are a part of my life. I'm not in love with them anymore, but I will always love those people because they play positive roles in my life. I don't know what you two think about that, but that's just how I feel.
My chime in on that is exactly what Alvin said earlier. Remember, everyone has their demons, everyone has their baggage. So I can fall in love with you and we can fall in love with each other. But I will say this, love isn't enough. And you might not be good for me and I might not be good for you. But we are
Yes.
phenomenally compatible, like
Yes.
compatible beyond belief. And the love we have has probably been the greatest love we've ever felt together. But
Yes.
there comes a time where, like, that's just not, something isn't clicking. And I think a lot of time it is our demons and the things that we have that we can't surpass, and it gets in the way of a successful healthy relationship. And I
Yes.
mean, I speak from experience. I have fallen deeply in love and had to, accept that, like, oh, but this isn't good. This isn't good for either one of us. And then why continue it?
Yeah.
Versus I've been on the other side where I wasn't in love, but I did love a person, but stayed in it forever because it felt costumbre. It was comfortable, it was good, and what else was I going to be doing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, I agree with you a lot, Amanda. More or less, well, like as Christina was mentioning too, it's one of those like finding the lesser evil. You know, you're with somebody and people are scared to start over. People are really afraid. Like, why am I going to trade this person when I know what they're about to start over and be with someone completely different? People are afraid to give themselves to other people. Hurt people hurt people. And
Yeah.
that is really a fact. And unless you come to terms with whatever demons you're going through and whatever issues you have, you need to work those out. You can't jump from one relationship to another expecting happiness from another person. It's not going to work like that. You need to look in the mirror and solve your problems, whatever they are. And we all have problems. So that's not saying anything negative about anybody. You know, we all have our problems.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like if men and women were just honest and would communicate about the things that they actually want, whether you want to be in a relationship or you're just looking for sex or anything like that, then then we would have something to work on instead
Yeah.
of being deceitful and lying to somebody
Yeah.
and leading them on emotionally and everything to to actually want to be with somebody. If you don't want to be with them, just say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And
so. I'll put up this comment. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Amanda. You can go into it. I want to put up the,
I
because he
was
said
just gonna
communication.
say,
So I want to put that in there.
yeah. I just wanted to add to the comment to hurt people hurt people also hurt the people they love. And I think that
Yeah.
we always think that when you say those things together, hurt people hurt other people, that it's only like people they don't like. And the reality is that we usually start where we're the most comfortable. I always say home is like
Yes.
the fighting ring. Like home is like the fighting ring. I always encourage couples who are having intense problems with communication or need to have an intense conversation to actually go out to dinner and have a conversation, because
Yeah.
they're not going to have a show in public potentially, right? But at home it's like gloves on, let's go. You throw a
Yes.
punch, I'm gonna throw two, you throw two, you know what I mean? Like not physical but verbal punches, and then the conversation goes nowhere and there's no actual forward moving communication happening. But if you go out, you go to a park, it doesn't have to be a restaurant. You could go to a park, an open space, somewhere that is just open where you can actually express yourself, but also be mindful that you love this person and you don't want to hurt them. The best relationship I ever been in was hard for me to accept, because he said to me, I'm going to walk out right now because I want to say things to you that I will never be able to take back, but I love you too much to say them. So I'm going to walk away from this. And I
Yeah.
didn't like it. Bien Latina, where you going? What's up? Like, I'm not done talking. And I
Dominicana.
exactly, bien fiera, como tú dices. And, but later on, the next day, I realized, like, that took a lot. Because, my mouth was probably like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," and that took a lot to not say anything hurtful. Like, he said nothing. He literally just informed me what he was doing and walked out the door.
Yeah.
So I
Definitely.
think exactly the comment and what Alvin said, the communication and understanding that hurt people are going to hurt you even if they love you.
I don't want to offend anyone, especially women here, but getting back to my old school mentality, I believe a man should be a man. And whether you're in a relationship, whether you're married, a man has to lead a woman in the right way. Now, if the man's not doing his job and he's not leading the woman the right way, then the woman has every right to take the power from the man because he's not doing what he's supposed to. And that's everything, not just financially, I'm talking about emotionally, uh, physically, everything, Um, what were you saying about the people, like hurting people? The person that you hurt the most is the one that you love the most. So when you're in a
For
relationship,
sure.
that person takes the
Definitely.
brunt of everything that you're going through.
Yes.
You know, and it's sad that you have to do that to that person, but um, it's just something how it is. And I love what you were saying earlier about when you get into like these confrontations and then someone raises their voice and then you start getting loud, that other person gets loud, because I'm the type of person that I need closure. I feel like we can always talk things out. But now I realize that, what, sometimes we don't all deal with
You're always good at.
confrontation or communication the right
Mm-hmm.
way. So if somebody's leaving, it's not necessarily that they don't want to like talk to you. It's just they need to get their mind right
Yeah.
and figure out how they're going to come at you.
Definitely, definitely. So, Tita, I'm sorry, Mama. We said, oops, we're going up at the same time. Communication, honesty, trust are all key into building a relationship. I've been alone for almost 18 months now and have grown a lot and also healing. That is Tita, y'all, one of my good friends. She is amazing and she's very open because she's mentioned it a few times. She was one of those women that, some of us have stayed forever and ever. Tita found out he was cheating and she was like, I'm done. We're getting a divorce. And that was it for her. So I think that's something that, some people just say, if we can't work it out, we got to go. I'm not dealing with it. Ray says, what does cheating say about a person? Can it be lack of attention or an excuse to continue? That's a good question. um, Ray, I wish you got a little bit more into who you were asking. If you were saying the person who's cheated on or the cheater. What did you mean by that? Maybe he'll respond to us. Cheating
So
say
I
about.
will say, well, when I read the first part, what does cheating say about a person? I think it means that something's missing for them, right? Something that they're not getting and that they're searching for. If I'm not saying that they're right for what they're looking for, but we just had this conversation, right? We in the earlier in the thing today, where men are looking for sexual gratification per se. So if they're not getting that at home, they might go on social media and someone's giving them some attention and it ends up where it becomes physical. So they got that. For a female, it might be, partner not providing that one on one time, that affection, that intimacy of like sitting and Netflix and chilling or whatever, and then she starts getting it online and it continues from there. What it says about the person, though, I think it really is that something is off and they need to figure out what that is. And then they can address it with their partner. But if you're not in tune, and I always say this, Christina, you have to be aware of self. Because if you're not aware of self, then we become impulsive and do things crazy, right? Like I woke up this morning like this. No, I'm just sorry. I didn't wake up like this. But and I was having like I didn't have a good night's rest and I was crappy. So what I chose to do was to alter my schedule so that I didn't interact with my students in the morning, but interacted with them in the afternoon because I knew that I wasn't delivering the best Amanda that I could deliver. Does that make sense? And I
Yeah.
think that we could do that with our partners. We could say, today's not a good day for me. I'm just really crappy. I might be a little bit off today versus giving them the lash of like, get out my face. I don't want to talk. Da, 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 da. And maybe that can help with the communication and the trust and understanding and consistency. I truly and honestly believe that if you are a consistent person and consistently react and behave the same way with that person, then they know what to expect and then they know how to support you. But if you are like up and down, and they never know if you're coming or going, that can be tiresome as well in a
Yeah,
relationship.
definitely. We are getting like blown up in the comment section, and I wish I could like get to everyone because there's so many. Since we are 57 minutes in, I definitely want to remind folks why we are here because we are talking about cheating, but I want us to remember why we're here. Once again, as per my usual, we're almost at the bottom of our show. So I want you to remember if you or someone you are with or love or care for is dealing with domestic violence, the number for the hotline is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Please reach out to them. If you feel as though you cannot speak to them because your abuser is around, remember that you can text or chat. You can dial 911 if you feel you are in immediate danger, but the person is there and you're scared. Remember, you can ask them to order a pizza. You can say you want to speak to customer service. You can say anything. The person on the other line is trained to know that they must be in some sort of danger and they will ask you questions that you can answer with yes or no. So please always remember that. You can also reach out to us at loveshouldnothurt.com and all of our social media platforms. So you guys have been amazing guests and I want to keep the fun rolling because I love this. So I'm going to get into a few more comments to see what we can get out of folks. Folks, if we go over an hour, I'm sorry, but it's a juicy topic and we got a good woman and man on here giving us some good juice. Adam Nieves, my love, he says, I have a question. Why do people complain about the person they love is cheating on them, but they still want to be with them? Good question, Adam. I can speak for myself, and then I guess they can speak for themselves. I will say, I think we've touched on this a little bit throughout the show. I think that oftentimes we stay with those people for very different reasons. One could be that, like we said, el costumbre es más fuerte que el amor. Sometimes we're so used to that person that we say, I'm just going to tolerate it. Even though we cry and we fight with them and we're like, why are you cheating on me? We deal with it because we're so used to that person. Two, I think a lot of people lack self-esteem. Myself, I can speak in general for myself. I've dealt with it and tolerated it because I haven't had the self-esteem to believe that I deserve better. I know that now, though. I know I deserve better. Three, sometimes people play that you play the game, I can play it better. And they decide you want to cheat, I'm going to do you 2 times better and I'm going to do the same thing. That's just for me. I know there's a thousand other reasons why people do it, and I don't know if my two beautiful co-hosts want to kind of touche on that or what they think. But why do people stay?
Um, I told you I was married before, recently
Mm-hmm.
divorced. It's been over a year now. From my personal experience, I felt that I was afraid to be seen by society as a guy that would leave a wife with kids. So it kind of like left me being in that marriage, even though I know it was unhealthy, and I was just like emotionally just going down the tubes with her. But I just felt like I had to stay with my kids, and a lot of it is like a pattern of behavior. You know, me being a child and seeing my mother and father um, like living in separate rooms, and I didn't understand what was going on at the time, but they stayed
Yes.
together. And like
Yeah.
I said, that's the old school mentality, especially
Yeah.
in a Latino household. They will stay
Hmm.
together. They will
Yes, they
stay
will.
together. They're not happy, but they will stay for the children. They
That's
will
right.
stay for just for the sake of it. And a lot of people stay, and or they might even leave, but they still have the last name of the person. You know, it's
Yeah.
just like it's a Latin thing too. I mean, not to sound so stereotypical, but
No, yeah.
most Latino households are like that.
Yes. Jenny Perez says, I stayed for my kids, but now I know they wanted me to leave him too, which is something that I can attest to as an adult. I
Yeah.
actually have seen just so many people who are so unhappy and they say, but my kids, I got to stay for my kids. And I'm like, do you know that
Mm.
your kids, you want to stay for them, but they know that you sleep on the sofa and they know that you guys don't even talk when you're in the house. So you staying for your kids, but you think they don't see that? You think they don't know? Jenny also said the world entanglement, right? We use that now because of Will Smith and his wife and their
Hmm.
entanglement. I think there's so many people who are in entanglements that it's also become so common and just normal for people to just do it because they've seen so many people do it that it's like that's normal. Um, she
And you
said, I
hear it
stayed
all
because I was
over.
scared of what my family would say, which is another big thing too for Latinos. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Amanda.
And you hear it all over, songs, media. I mean, there is no person in on TV now that hasn't been in some form of cheating or scandal or something, and then they stay together, or they get back together, and they break up, and it's almost like a norm that's been created. So I do believe that in the Latino culture, it's almost like, once you create that bond, you're supposed to keep it no matter what. But I also feel like in society nowadays, it's acceptable to have multiple partners, or it's
Yeah.
acceptable to like not work out but then work out, and have this flip flop. And it's what not our generation, but our children and the generation X and millennials are seeing, like it's okay to do this flippy flop relationship. What's that old school relationship that we grew up? Because I grew, even though I described my parents as I did, like my dad always treated my mom like she was a queen. And I never felt like, why is he not here? I didn't understand that he was doing, I call him a Rolling Stone now, but I
That's what
didn't
I was
know that.
thinking of earlier. That's what I call my dad. I couldn't think of it though, a Rolling Stone. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Yes,
That's right. That's
yes,
right. I'm Puerto
exactly.
Rican. We just throw in there. My bad. Go ahead.
We switch it, and but I think that the reason, and to go back to the person's question about like, why do we talk about it, we're looking for someone to connect with our pain.
Mhm.
And I think that that's why people talk about their man that's cheating and stay with them, because they usually are talking to the girlfriend and saying to connect. So someone to say either leave him, even though they won't leave, or to say, girl, work it out, or guy, you should stick with her. She's a good person, or whatever. We're always looking for someone in the outside to give us
Yeah.
insight as to what we should be doing, because we ourselves can't figure it out. Because it's so, like you said, when you had that busted head, did that just happen? It's like a disbelief that that happened, because in your mind, nobody gets in a relationship and thinks it's going to end badly. People get into a relationship with the expectations that we're going to fall deeper in love with each other. We're going to grow old and sit in la mesadora outside watching our grandkids and great grandkids running around. Nobody thinks that the relationship is going to end, that it's going to go left, or that they're going to be cheated on. I don't think anyone enters a relationship thinking that.
Yeah, definitely. So we got a lot of comments here. Dios mío, I'm trying to keep up with them because they're saucy. So, Alicia, I wanted to clarify. I just want to be clear. His infidelity was the last straw. We had other marital issues, his numerous job changes, lack of stability, respect for me, etc. I got you, boo boo. I just want people to know that when he cheated, you was like, I'm done, I'm out. So just, letting people know. Jenny Perez said, "Ooh, Alvin, we're covering you. I'm sorry, puppy. I'll read it real quick and then I take it off." So, there you go. So, how about if the person not only cheated but deceived you? Since it is not the person you thought they were, how could someone say they must still love them just because they thought they loved them? I'm not saying you have to hate the person, but how is that love? I see you shaking your head, Amanda. What's your thought on that?
I just I just think that everyone's definition of love is different,
Different. Yes.
right? I definitely, the three of us, I can tell just by the conversation we're having, our definition of love is different. Because if no one's read it, there's a book called The Five Love Languages. And
Mm.
anyone, whether you're in a relationship or not, you should read it. There's even a test online that you can take so you can understand what your love languages are,
Yes.
right? So the three of us right here can take the love language, and our priorities are going to be so different, right? There's people who like the intimacy, the touch. There's people who like act of service. There's people who likes the accolades and the constant attention. So I think that love is defined by the person, not by a community or a society. And that's why for a person, love might be that they are just showing up every day at the end of the day. I think you said something like that earlier, Chrissy. You
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
well, he came to me
He
at the
came
end of the
home.
day.
Yeah.
Yes, and he came home. So that might have been love. I'm not saying for you, but that could be a situation where for
Oh,
that
yeah.
person, he's paying the bills, he's taking care of home, and he's coming home at the end of the day. So
Absolutely.
what? He doesn't take me on vacation. So what? We don't ever go out on dates. So what? At the
Right.
end of the day, I have clothes on my back. I'm not saying that I agree with it. I'm just saying that sometimes that's the logic, because I said
Yeah.
earlier, we have standards. We have standards in our joys, in our careers, and in love. And if my standards in love is just I need someone to be present, then
Mhm.
I'll accept anything.
Yeah. Definitely. Um, we have another huge comment. So Alvin, you gotta be like this again. Selena Melendez, my cousin, y'all, hit her up, Trendy Girl Boutique. Woo! Shameless plug. I feel like communication is key. People cheat, then say they felt neglected, etc. That should be conveyed before you get to cheating. That should be conveyed before you get to cheating. I have to say that over and over again. And if you convey and still don't get what you need, then just move on. I don't feel like cheating is ever excusable. She don't
Uh,
play, y'all. She don't play.
yeah.
Go
Well,
ahead, Al.
cheating is definitely not an excusable excuse, but a
Yeah,
lot of the
definitely.
cheating part too is the excitement of going through it, of we're going to get caught and sneaking around. So there's a certain allure of cheating. You know, I mean, it's difficult to say why people actually cheat. I mean,
Mhm.
because as we were talking about, it could be anything. It could be,
Yeah,
lack of emotion or physical touch or anything like
yeah.
that. But I'm glad Amanda brought up the five love languages, because I haven't read the book, but I do pride myself on being the five love languages. I
Mhm.
might not always be like the most, whatever way that you want me to be, but I'm going to open your door. I'm going to bring you flowers. I'm going to let you know that you're appreciated and that I care about you. I think those things in itself go a long way.
Do.
Getting back to the communication part, I don't think you can come to somebody and say that I'm going to cheat on you, and it's going to be acceptable. Like that. That's why people do it. There's a
Yeah.
certain excitement about it. And men have a tendency of being able to be with their woman and still love them and still go out and cheat. I don't really know what that says about a guy, but if you're going to be in that, if you're going to be that type of man, then I think that you shouldn't be with somebody. You're not ready to be with somebody.
Hmm.
You hit
Because
it.
like I
You
said,
hit it.
dating is a prelude to marriage. If you're just dating to dating, then you're just wasting your time. You're wasting somebody else's time. You're gonna
Yep.
waste 3, 4, 5, 6 months, whatever amount of time it is, being with somebody that you're gonna have an excitement going on. You're gonna go out on dates and things like that. But if it's not gonna work out, you need to cut your losses and understand and move on. I date with a purpose now. I purposely took myself out of the scene because I want to find like a good Christian woman, things that like my morals and things that I have in common with somebody. Not just I'm going to go out dancing and get drunk and she looks good and try and go hit on her. Because sex to me is like secondary now. I'd rather have more of an emotional connection. You know what I mean? I'm on a different level too. So guys go through different levels and ages. When you're in
Yeah.
Hmm.
20s, you want to like be with every woman that you want. When you're in 30s, you start thinking about settling down. But it's just very difficult. But more than
But
anything, I want to hit on is just the excitement of it. People get excited.
mhm. I was just gonna to piggyback off of that. What about like what we were taught as children, right? So, I think boys are always glorified to go sow your oats in your 20s, right? Like go out there,
Yep.
try it out. And girls are like, no, you need to find the next your husband, and you need to figure out how you can become a. I mean, and I don't know about the younger, but I know that when I was younger, it was kind of like got in a relationship because you were gonna get married, not because you were dating. Where boys were kind of like go out, sow your oats, figure it out, be with different women, and figure out what do you like, what's your type. And we didn't have that option. I feel like, and then when things switch and women then started to say, well, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go find out what it is that I like. And then there's the stereotypes that come attached with women who sleep with many men and things like that. So I think that cheating and relationships and all that is it can be a very convoluted topic, but I think that the one thing that I keep hearing today that I would love to put my 130 stamp, like you said, Christina, is that communication is a maker or breaker of things. If
Yeah,
you can
definitely.
communicate with your partner about what you need and they're not fulfilling it, then it's another communication of like maybe this isn't working, maybe it's time for us to take that step. But who's taking the step? Because no one ever wants to be seen as the bad guy. No one
Yeah.
ever wants to be seen as the one who broke the marriage or broke the relationship of however many years. So I think that at the end of the day, it also takes some courage to be able to say this isn't working. And I don't mean to hurt you, because at the end of the day, someone's going to end up hurt.
Yeah.
And we just need to go our separate ways.
Definitely. I am dying here because if you're not seeing the comments, Jenny Perez is out here acting a fool. How about Cardi B and Bill Clinton? She said, "Que bochorno." Hot mess. I love Jenny. She's awesome, y'all. Find her in Arizona. She's a photographer too. I like to bounce everybody, promote
But
everybody, promote
but
shameless
what we were
plug.
discussing earlier about the
Oh,
pattern of
Mira,
behavior.
I'm sorry. I covered you.
No, don't
Alvin,
worry
I'm
about it.
sorry. Go ahead. Talk. I'll go back
At
to the.
least in Bill Clinton's case, I'm not trying to psychoanalyze anybody, but Bill Clinton already had an established behavior of sexual encounters with
Okay,
people.
okay, okay, okay. I give you that. I
So
give you
to him, it might have been, something, like I said, the excitement of it, especially
that.
him being in a high position that he was.
Yeah, definitely. So the comment I had, they covered him, bendito, but you could just look above. I agree wholeheartedly with Selena. I don't condone cheating, and even though I've taken my ex-husband back after it was done, I've never done it because I don't condone it. I've done it due to being scared that my kids would be hurt without having their father, which I think is
Ye-
it was just a lot of people. A lot of people
Yeah.
Hmm.
take people back because of kids. I've taken people back because my daughter sees you as a father figure. My daughter knows you in her life, and I've condoned it. I get it. Believe me, I get it. We these comments are fly. I want to say this before we end the show, and I finish with a few more comments that I love my audience. So if you guys don't know that, you guys are bomb. I love you because you not only stick with us every week, but your comments are always respectful and you always love my guests and you're never rude to them. So thank you guys for always being here and being so supportive. Jasenia says, I see Alvin. I'm so over. Let's go have a drink. I'm looking for looks. Go over and talk with the coffee, de verdad, right? Just sit down and have a talk. So Ray says, no person could love a cheater and not pay the price for it. Focus on what you give. And if you feel like it's not enough, you need to love yourself first, which is absolutely right. I have, yeah, let's all give him a loud clap there. Silent clap. I think that's something that I have friends who I have loved dearly, and I've watched them jump from man to man to man to man, and be the woman who they're married, but you're still with them, and jump from that person, and different man every week. And I've said to them like, why don't you just be single? Like, just be single if that's what you want to do, and take out time to just love you. Like, love you as a person. You're amazing. Like, stop accepting the short end of the stick because you're tired of being cheated on, and just love you. Focus on you, focus on your kids, focus on what makes you happy first, because I think that what we portray to the world is what we get back. And that's something that, as myself, as a 40-year-old woman, I can't believe I'm 40, y'all. I'm mad. But anyway, I feel like, as adults, we have to like, exhibit what we want. If we want to get somebody who's respectful, we got to give respect. If we want someone who's not going to cheat on us, we got to make sure that we're not cheating either. And sometimes you can't control that. I get it. But I think it's more so of learning about ourselves and learning what we will tolerate and learning what we will accept. And I think sometimes we accept it because we don't
Mm-hmm.
feel good about ourselves. We don't find worth in ourselves. So we deal with it. So listen, for all you people listening, deja de ser la otra. Deja de hacerlo if you're doing it and just focus on you because you're amazing. And somebody out there is going to see your potential. They're going to see that you're awesome. And you're not going to have to deal with that stuff no more. And that's just me being grandma and giving you a little talk right there. Alicia says, one of my favorite quotes: give, but don't allow others to be used. Love, but don't allow your love to be abused. Trust, but don't be naive. Listen, but don't lose your own voice. I like that. I'm going to have to put that somewhere like a tattoo or algo.
Well, you'll consistently lose your voice. Like I was saying, if you put your happiness in somebody else, because
Yeah,
another
Mm-hmm.
person is not responsible for your
for your
happiness. If
happiness.
you're not happy with yourself, not to sound cliche, then someone else is not going to make you happy. You, like you said, work on yourself, self growth, be by yourself. You know, there's something so fulfilling and rewarding about finding yourself and who you are and what you want in life. And a lot of the great people are single because they've been through traumatic issues. They've been through
Yeah.
abusive relationships. They've been told that they're not attractive, they're not good looking, they're not smart enough, they're not this, they're not that. And those scars live in our memories. You know, a lot of times in life, your mind will tell you more negative things than positive things.
Yes, absolutely.
It takes a
Absolutely.
very strong person to be positive on a consistent basis. Am I
Yeah.
negative? Yes. Do I talk bad to myself? Yes. But when I catch myself doing that, I think of more positive things that are going on in my life.
Yeah. I think that's what's super important. We have to catch ourselves.
Right.
We have
And
to be
don't
like,
don't base your happiness on somebody else. Learn to be happy with yourself. And the right people, like you said, what you put out in this universe, you will
come back.
attract. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we have gone, if you can believe it, for an hour and 60 minutes. I can believe it because we have fun all the time.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, I want to thank Amanda and Alvin because you guys are awesome sauce. I think we had an amazing
Christina, do you
time.
mind if we cheat a little bit more on the time frame here and keep going?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Since we're talking about
I
cheating,
like his playing words.
Yeah. But I want to thank people so much for watching and being a part of this. It's an hour and 17 minutes in, and I could go forever. People who watch know we went this one time for 2 hours because people watched.
mm,
But again, I just want to always remind folks why we are here since we are at this time. Again, remember the National Domestic Violence Hotline scrolling across the bottom. So a few more comments, and then we're all going to take it down because, bendito, a few people got to go to work tomorrow. Evie Ramos says, I've known people who go back and say it was because at least they just know what they were getting, which is just as crazy. Yeah, that's true. You break up with someone and then you go back and you're like, well, at least I know. I know what I'm dealing
Mm-hmm.
with. I tolerate it.
right.
The known is more comfortable than the unknown, right? The
Yes.
unknown is scary.
Mm.
Yes. Teresa says we cannot speak poorly to ourselves. It's unhealthy. Definitely. I think that's something that I've had to grow into. And anybody that knows me, and Amanda knows me personally. Alvin doesn't know me that well, but Amanda does. And Evie, who's watching, knows me very well. I think that I have been my biggest barricade to happiness a lot of times because I think that in saying all the negative and accepting the negativity that I have, I've allowed negativity to be, like I said, you give what you release is what you give back, right? And I've allowed myself to believe so poorly about myself that I accepted poorly in return. Jenny says positive vibes to you all. Have a good night. Great show. Thank you for watching, Jenny. So before we close out, let's have some. She said, I've experienced that mindset, Evie. Let's have some closing thoughts, you guys. What are your closing thoughts before we say goodnight to everyone? Alvin, let's go first. What is your final thought for us tonight?
Cheating in no way, shape, or form is acceptable. I think that you should be able to. Hello?
You're still on screen. We just want to get off so that you can have your moment to give us your final thought.
Okay. Cheating in no way, shape, or form should be acceptable. You should learn to love yourself and speak positivity to yourself. If you feel like that you have to be with that person, whether it be for your children or for financial reasons, but you're unhappy, then you don't need to be in that relationship. Learn to love yourself and be by yourself. Learn to surround yourself with the right people that give you guidance and structure in your life. Um, that's basically all I have to say.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Alvin. You
All
are
right.
someone that, let me tell people, I don't know Alvin as like a friend or personal. So people's like, how do you get your guests? He was recommended to me, but I only know Alvin because if you don't know, he's in Florida, but hopefully he'll visit us when COVID is over. Alvin could throw it on the dance floor, right? So that's how I met Alvin on the dance floor. I went to a Latin night one night and he asked me to dance and he knew who I was and I didn't even know who he was. But I am learning just by you being on the show tonight. How amazing you are. I wish I knew you like for real. Now I'm going to like write to you all the time because I think that you're awesome and I think that our guests and the people watching feel the same way about you. But thank you so much, Alvin, for being with us tonight because I think you're a phenomenal man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And as you were saying, like-minded people or people with positive vibes tend have a tendency to gravitate towards each other. I love what you're doing, and I'm
Thank
not
you.
really divulge a lot into what you're doing, but with your platform and everything like that, I'm looking forward to getting into it. I want to thank all your guests, and I want to thank Amanda and everyone. Thank you so much for letting me be here. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. You're going to be in the green room, but stay there, okay? We're
Uh,
going to bring
all right.
Amanda back so we can get her final thoughts on what's going on today. Amanda, give us your final
Dímelo.
thoughts, mujer.
So my final thought is you reap what you sow. So sow beauty, sow love, sow happiness, sow joy, because then that's what's going to come out. So what you put into yourself is what you're going to put out to the universe, and exchange the universe is going to repay you. And I think Alvin said it earlier. We tend to have a lot of negative thoughts of self, and those resonate way louder than the thoughts of positivity that we have. So start and end your day loving yourself, caring for yourself, telling yourself what you did in that day that was amazing. And then hold your counterparts accountable to the same. Tell the person you love how much you love them, what you want, what you need, and hopefully with the communication that will expand. I do want to say one thing. Maya Angelou has a quote that says, when someone shows you who they truly are, believe them the first time. A lot of times we try to change people because we think that we see something in them that they don't see in themselves. Well, let me explain this to you. If they don't see it, there is nothing within your power that you can do to get them to see that. They have to find themselves on their own. So focus on you, because when you focus on yourself, the greatest things are going to happen for you. Like, trust and believe me. I sound and I know I come off as like always confident and positive. I am a strong woman that has gone through a lot of pain. But guess what that pain has built? An even stronger woman. Like, I am like, oh, eso no me mató. Well, guess what's coming next? Because I can't wait to see who that lady is. Because she going to be bomb. Because this one, I got it. So I'm going to send that same energy back to you guys. Thank you.
I love Miss Amanda. Dios mío. You are so cute. I love you. Oh my goodness. Qué linda.
That
So
feeling is mutual.
I know. Listen, I didn't know Alvin, and I'm learning about him tonight. Pero Amanda, yo la conozco. That's my boo right there. I love her to death, and she is amazing. And listen, you guys caught her tonight, and she was giving a lot of personal opinions, and she was giving therapeutic opinions. But if you don't know, like she said at the top of the show, she is a licensed professional counselor. So my girl knows what she's talking about. She got credentials, y'all. So look out for her. I want to say thank you to you guys because you rocked tonight. And in the comments, people are loving you guys. So you guys are so amazing. I love you guys. We had a great show. I think the topic was fuego, como siempre.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
God bless you guys. Thank you. Listen, don't go anywhere. Stay in the green room. I have some closing thoughts. So
Okay.
listen up, everyone. My closing thoughts tonight. As a woman who's been cheated on, whoo, Dios mío, bendito, my entire life, I'm not embarrassed to say that because listen, it is what it is. A woman who has dealt with cheating her entire life and who's been a part of that for so, so long. I tell you this, find love in yourselves, folks. Find love in the person that you are. Know that you are phenomenal and know that you do not need to be the other woman to be good enough. Know that you are good enough as a man, as a woman, no matter who you are. Find worth in yourself. If you have to be alone so that you can find that worth, do that. Do not accept or tolerate stupidity. I have Me right here. Esta mujer. I have accepted negativity for so long because I did not see my own worth. With this platform, I hope that we are waking people up. And I also hope that if you are watching tonight, we have touched you in some way, shape, or form. I hope that when you heard us speak, you took some of that in, you digested what we said tonight. I think that this was an amazing way to start off 2021. Every week we have an amazing show. We have amazing topics and amazing folks. Listen, our topics come from our audience and from what people say and they give me, I take it and I give it back to you. So if you have topics that you feel you want to hear from us, you want to connect with us and you want to know what we're talking about, inbox me your ideas because I definitely will use them as our next show topics. Thank you guys for watching. You have stuck around with us for an hour and 25 minutes. It's been an amazing night. Remember, love shouldn't hurt people. Love yourselves. We love you. Thank you for a great night. Thank you for being there. Have a good night and God